What if I told you that the familiar images of angels with white wings and demons with horns are just a heavily edited, popularized version created for mass consumption, and that an ancient text exists, one that reveals the shocking truth about their origins, their transgressions, and the very nature of evil itself? Today, we're embarking on a journey through the pages of one of history's most enigmatic and debated texts, the Book of Enoch. Prepare yourselves, because what you're about to discover might fundamentally alter your understanding of the biblical world. So who exactly was Enoch? The Bible mentions him in just a few brief lines. He was the great-grandfather of Noah. Yes, that Noah who built the ark. But the most fascinating detail about Enoch is that he didn't die. The Bible simply states that God took him away. The Book of Enoch picks up precisely where the biblical account leaves off, detailing where he was taken and what divine revelations he received. This text was immensely popular among early Christians and Jews, yet for reasons shrouded in mystery, it was never included in the canonical Bible of most major churches. So, let's uncover the secrets it holds. Let's start right at the beginning. At the heart of this story is a unique group of angels known as the Watchers, or sometimes referred to as the Guardians. And that name perfectly encapsulates their initial mission. Forget the imagery of harps and cherubs. These were not those angels. Instead, imagine an elite celestial squad, a kind of heavenly special forces, tasked with the most crucial assignment in all of creation, overseeing nascent humanity. Their mission was to protect humankind, gently guide them, and ensure that civilization developed precisely according to the divine plan. They were powerful, wise, and utterly devoted to their Creator. At least that's how it started. The Book of Enoch tells us there were 200 of them, descending onto the peak of Mount Hermon. Their intentions were pure, but their close proximity to human life, to earthly emotions, and as we'll soon discover, to mortal beauty, proved to be a trial they were utterly unprepared for. But something went profoundly amiss. Day by day, as they watched human lives unfold, these celestial beings encountered something that shook the very core of their being. They beheld the daughters of men. Their fascination wasn't merely rooted in physical beauty. They witnessed their raw emotions, their fragile mortality, their lives brimming with fierce passions, and this sight utterly entranced them. What began as simple observation, their sacred mandate, slowly twisted it into something else entirely. An obsession, a forbidden emotion, lust, began to stir within their immortal hearts. The Book of Enoch stresses that this was no fleeting impulse or accidental misstep. Rather, it was a slow, deliberate plunge into perdition. Their burgeoning desire was more than a mere feeling. It was a conscious, premeditated choice to defy the ultimate prohibition, never to interfere, never to intertwine the celestial with the terrestrial, the eternal with the mortal. This profound internal conflict became the watershed moment that would forever reshape the fate of both heaven and earth. Realizing there was no turning back, they resolved to commit a collective transgression. Their leader, the mighty angel Semyaza, gathered them and expressed his apprehension. "I fear you might hesitate to go through with this, leaving me alone to bear the weight of this great sin." He feared the responsibility, the prospect of becoming the sole scapegoat. In response, the 200 angels gave their answer. Right there, on Mount Hermon, they forged a secret pact. They bound themselves to each other with a mutual oath and a solemn curse. The essence of this oath was both simple and chilling. They would descend to earth, choose wives from among the daughters of men, and collectively bear the full weight of the consequences. This was no mere rebellion. It was a meticulously planned conspiracy. They consciously chose to defy divine law, and that oath marked the point of no return, a moment after which the history of the world would forever be altered. And so the forbidden union was consummated. From the liaison between immortal angels and mortal women, an offspring was born, a race with no place in heaven or on earth, the Nephilim. In the canonical Bible, the Book of Genesis mentions them only briefly. There were giants on the earth in those days. These were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. But the Book of Enoch rips away this veil of glory, painting a far more terrifying picture. The Nephilim were giants. Their stature, according to the text, reached 3,000 cubits, a symbolic number, of course, yet one that conveys the sheer scale of the catastrophe. They were physically perfect, immensely strong, and utterly devoid of human compassion. They were a mistake of nature, hybrids, whose very essence was a distortion of the divine plan. Their emergence on earth was the first and most blatant consequence of the Watcher's sin, living proof of their betrayal. The arrival of the Nephilim on earth ushered in a true nightmare. These colossal, hybrid beings harboured a monstrous, insatiable hunger. Their appetites were as gargantuan as their towering forms. At first, they consumed every product of human labour, devouring all grain, emptying every storehouse, and slaughtering every head of cattle. Humanity toiled relentlessly, yet feeding these monsters proved an impossible task. When human provisions were finally exhausted, the Nephilim's hunger didn't subside. Instead, it twisted into something far more depraved. They turned their monstrous attention to humanity itself, devouring their flesh and draining their blood. The world plunged into a primal, unfathomable terror. Yet even this failed to sate them. Ultimately, pushed to the absolute extreme by their eternal hunger, the Nephilim turned against one another. The very earth quaked beneath the fury of their cannibalistic wars. Humanity now teetered on the precipice of total annihilation, reduced to nothing more than mere sustenance for the descendants of their supposed former guardians. Lust, however, was merely the Watcher's first transgression. Their second crime proved far more insidious, carrying even more devastating consequences. They chose to share forbidden knowledge with humanity. This was no act of enlightenment or generosity. It was a deliberate, calculated corruption. They unveiled the secrets of heaven and earth to mankind, knowledge for which the human mind and moral compass were utterly unprepared. Imagine handing a child a loaded gun. The consequences would be catastrophic. And that is precisely what these Watchers did. They equipped humanity with tools that exponentially magnified their capacity for evil. This act of enlightenment became a true Pandora's box, unleashing forces upon the world that mankind was utterly incapable of controlling. It was the ultimate betrayal of their sacred mission as guardians. Rather than safeguarding their charges, they armed them for self-destruction. At the core of this technological breakthrough was Azazel, one of the most powerful leaders of the fallen angels. It was he, according to the Book of Enoch, who introduced the primal sin of militarism. Azazel taught humanity how to process metals, but not for crafting ploughs or adornments. Instead, he instructed them in the forging of swords, knives, shields, and combat armour. He unveiled the art of war in its full, destructive glory. Before this, human conflicts were primitive, but now they wielded truly lethal weaponry. Azazel didn't just give them instruments of war. He implanted in their minds the very concept of organised violence, the strategies and tactics for annihilating their own kind. Essentially, this fallen angel became history's first arms dealer and general, turning Earth into an endless battlefield. The Book of Enoch places on him the responsibility for all the blood ever shed on Earth. Other angels, however, focused their efforts on a different form of corruption, the social and moral decay of humanity. They instructed women in practices that, according to the text's author, became the very wellspring of vanity and depravity. These fallen beings revealed to them how to craft bracelets and adornments, how to incorporate precious gems and all manner of dyes. They also introduced them to the art of cosmetics, teaching them to line their eyes with dark pigments and use various beautifying agents to enhance their allure. From the viewpoint of this ancient scripture, these were not innocent embellishments. Rather, they served as instruments of seduction, fundamentally disrupting the natural order. Beauty, once a natural gift, was transformed into an artificially crafted weapon wielded in a play of lust and deception. In this way, these angels sowed the potent seeds of vanity, envy, and sexual licentiousness, which swiftly took root and flourished within human society. Yet the torrent of forbidden knowledge continued unabated. The Watchers, in their transgression, ushered humanity into the realm of the occult. Shemihaza, Their principal leader, an angel by name, taught people intricate incantations and the dark art of root-cutting for sorcery. Others revealed how to read the stars for divination, unveiling the profound mysteries of astrology, the secrets of constellations, and the cycles of the moon. This was not science as we understand it today. Instead, these were potent tools for manipulating reality and foretelling the future, powers meant to remain exclusively within the divine purview of the heavens. Humanity was thus granted access to forces it could neither comprehend nor control. This led directly to a widespread flourishing of witchcraft, dark magic, and divination. People turned away from their creator, placing their faith in these forbidden doctrines and striving to bend the spiritual world to their own will. The earth soon became overrun with enchanters and soothsayers, pushing it even further from its intended divine path. The outcome was swift and devastating. The earth, once a pristine Garden of Eden, had transformed into an absolute hell. Violence and lawlessness permeated every corner of the world. The giant Nephilim and armed humans were locked in a cycle of mutual destruction. Wickedness had reached its absolute peak. The Book of Enoch paints a vivid picture. The blood of the innocent, spilled upon the earth, literally cried out to the heavens. This was no mere sound. It was a palpable force, the agonizing scream of an entire planet, piercing the celestial spheres and reaching the very throne of the Almighty. The earth itself was defiled, its inherent harmony shattered. Humanity, left to its own devices with forbidden knowledge and its inherent vices, was hurtling towards complete self-annihilation. It seemed all hope for salvation had vanished. The world choked on its own blood and sin. It was at this critical juncture, when all hope seemed lost, that the chief guardians of the celestial order made their presence known. The mighty archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, gazed down from the heavens, beholding the unspeakable horrors unfolding on earth. They saw rivers of blood, heard the desperate cries of the innocent, and felt the searing pain of a desecrated world. Their divine patience exhausted, they knew they could no longer remain aloof. Assuming the mantle of celestial prosecutors, they presented themselves before the Most High, laying bare the full extent of the transgression. They spoke of Semyaza's blasphemous oath, detailed how Azazel had taught humanity the art of war, and recounted the debauchery and sorcery that the other watchers had so readily imparted to mankind. They became the resounding voice of justice, insisting upon swift and decisive divine intervention. Their fervent plea served as the catalyst that unleashed the torrent of divine retribution. God's response to the archangel's report was swift and utterly merciless. The enormity of the transgression demanded a cleansing of equal magnitude. It was then that the fateful decision was made, one that would seal the destiny of all life, to unleash the great flood. In the canonical Bible, the flood is attributed solely to human depravity and wickedness. However, the Book of Enoch offers a far deeper and more chilling explanation. The flood was not merely intended to wash away humanity's sins. Its primary objective was the physical eradication of the monstrous offspring of the Watchers, the giant Nephilim. Their hybrid nature defiled the very essence of creation, and for them, repentance or redemption was utterly impossible. The earth needed to be purged not with fire and water, but with water alone. It was a radical surgical intervention, designed to excise a cancerous tumour before it could consume all of creation. And it is here, into the heart of this cosmic conflict, that the central figure of our narrative steps forth, Enoch himself. Unlike the rest of humanity mired in sin, Enoch stood out as a beacon of righteousness. God chose him, a mere mortal, to be his special envoy. His mission was both grand and terrifying. He was destined to become the herald of God's divine judgment. God commanded Enoch to go directly to the fallen Watchers, who were now cowering in despair, and to deliver their grim fate. Picture this scene, a mortal man confronting powerful, immortal beings who had once been his very guardians, only to announce their eternal condemnation. This was an unprecedented act, highlighting just how far these angels had fallen, and conversely, how profoundly God valued the unwavering righteousness of a humble human. Enoch became a vital bridge between worlds, the authoritative voice of God in the dark realm of the fallen. The sentence Enoch pronounced upon the Watchers was worse than a swift death. Their immortality, once their greatest gift, now became their eternal curse. God commanded the archangels to bind the fallen angels hand and foot and cast them into the darkness, into the deepest abysses beneath the earth. There, in utter darkness, bound by eternal chains, they would await the day of great judgment. Their punishment was not merely imprisonment. It was a state of complete isolation from divine light, an endless torment as they awaited their final verdict, to be cast into eternal fire. The Book of Enoch paints a picture of history's first hell, conceived specifically for these angelic transgressors. Their fate became a grim warning to all heavenly hosts of the consequences of betrayal and the subversion of divine order. But now we delve into the most intriguing and perhaps the most shocking revelation of the Book of Enoch. What became of the Nephilim, the giant offspring of angels and humans? Their physical bodies, like those of all other living creatures, perished during the Great Flood. The waters wiped them from the face of the earth. But their story didn't end there. Because they were hybrids endowed with an immortal spirit from their angelic fathers, their essence could not simply vanish. Their malevolent, restless spirits remained on earth. They were cast out of their mighty bodies and transformed into disembodied, unseen entities. And it is these spirits, according to the Book of Enoch, that became what we now call demons. They are condemned to forever roam the earth, finding no rest, and to torment humanity, whom they despise as the cause of their accursed existence. This version of demonic origins completely reshapes everything we thought we knew. Traditionally, we've understood demons to be fallen angels who sided with Lucifer. But the Book of Enoch presents a far more specific and chilling picture. It suggests demons aren't the fallen angels themselves. Those are actually imprisoned deep underground. Instead, demons are the malevolent spirits of their deceased giant offspring. This concept sheds light on many things. For instance, it explains their desperate urge to possess physical bodies. Stripped of their own, they yearn to reclaim physical form. It also accounts for their insatiable hatred and envy of humanity. For even with the fall, humanity still holds a chance for salvation and eternal life. But they, the spirits of the Nephilim, are cursed from the moment of their creation. They are eternal outcasts, spectral remnants of a monstrous era, trapped in our world, bringing only pain and devastation. As for Azazel, the chief instigator of human corruption, a unique fate awaited him. While the other Watchers were merely bound and cast into the darkness, Azazel was subjected to a personal and exemplary punishment. God commanded the archangel Raphael to bind him hand and foot and cast him into the desert, to a place called Dudael. There he was confined to utter darkness. A chasm was opened in the earth, and he was covered with jagged rocks. All guilt for the sins of humanity was placed upon him, for the bloodshed and for teaching forbidden arts. He became the first scapegoat, a symbol of absolute evil banished from the world. His destiny is to dwell eternally in darkness until Judgment Day, when he will be cast into the fiery Gehenna. This punishment underscores his singular role in the unfolding catastrophe. But Enoch's mission was far from over. After he delivered judgment upon the Watchers, God decided to reward his loyal prophet for his unwavering righteousness. Enoch was taken alive into the heavens, where he was granted a magnificent tour of the entire cosmos. This was no mere journey. It was a profound initiation into the universe's deepest mysteries. He was shown the intricate structure of the seven heavens, each possessing its own unique purpose and inhabitants. He beheld angelic hosts, rivers of fire, and the very throne of God himself. He was shown paradise, the resting place for the righteous, and hell, where sinners and fallen angels endure eternal torment. Enoch became the first human to witness the full panorama of the spiritual world, a reality hidden from the eyes of ordinary mortals. This extraordinary journey transformed him from a mere messenger into a true cosmologist and mystic. Beyond spiritual revelations, Enoch also acquired scientific knowledge that was millennia ahead of his time. During his celestial journey, angels, Uriel in particular, unveiled to him the mysteries of astronomy and the structure of the cosmos. He was shown the laws governing the movement of celestial bodies, the sun, moon, and stars. He learned about solar and lunar calendars, the changing seasons, the winds, and the intricate design of the heavenly gates from which the luminaries emerge. The Book of Enoch dedicates entire chapters to these astronomical observations. These accounts are so remarkably detailed that many researchers consider this section to be the oldest scientific treatise. Thus, Enoch received not only spiritual, but also profound physical knowledge of the world, becoming a custodian of both the divine and natural laws that govern the universe. Ultimately, Enoch's journey culminated in prophecies about the future of humanity. He was granted a vision of the entire history of the world, from his own time to its very end, culminating in the Great Judgment. He witnessed the unfolding of generations, the rise and fall of kingdoms, but the most striking aspect of his visions was the figure of the coming Messiah. Enoch refers to him as the Son of Man, the Elect One, and the Righteous One. He describes him as a pre-existent judge who will take his seat on the throne of glory to judge all the living and the dead. Many of these descriptions strikingly resonate with how Jesus referred to himself in the New Testament. Enoch foretold his coming, his role in the salvation of the righteous, and the condemnation of sinners. Thus, this ancient book contains one of the earliest and most detailed prophecies concerning Christ, making it even more significant and enigmatic for scholars and believers alike. Here's where it gets really interesting. The Book of Enoch offers a completely different cosmology of evil. While canonical texts often link evil to Lucifer's pride, the Book of Enoch attributes this catastrophe to the lust and irresponsibility of a whole group of angels. They didn't merely rebel, they actively corrupted humanity, teaching them destructive technologies and frivolous ways. This explains why the antediluvian world was so depraved, necessitating such a radical solution as the Great Flood. But the most startling revelation, of course, concerns the origin of demons. The idea that demons are the restless, malevolent spirits of angel-human hybrids forever trapped on earth is far more concrete and terrifying than the abstract notion of fallen angels. This explains their invisible nature and their insatiable hatred for humanity, which, unlike them, holds the possibility of salvation. The book fills in crucial gaps the Bible leaves silent, painting a picture of a world steeped not just in the divine, but also in eerie cosmic lawlessness. So, the Book of Enoch is far more than just a forgotten tale. It's a lost chapter that offers profound answers to many lingering questions. It unveils a complex angelic hierarchy, explains the origin of evil, demons, and even the very genesis of the Great Flood. It reveals a world far more intricate and perilous than we've ever imagined. Thank you for sticking with us until the end of this video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mysteries of ancient texts, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our future explorations. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Why do you think this book was ultimately excluded from the biblical canon? Was it simply too strange, too frightening? Or did it perhaps reveal truths that were meant to remain hidden? Share your insights in the comments below